Hi, my name is Chaida. I am a Black conservative podcaster and writer, and this is Her America. Hello, welcome to my podcast. If you are new to this podcast, hi, my name is Chaida, and obviously, this is Her America, where I discuss relevant issues surrounding people, society, culture, and politics. I'm so glad you're here. I like to start every episode with a scripture. So if you don't mind following me to 1 Peter chapter 2 in verse 9, it says, and I'm reading from the New International Version, it says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." I love that scripture so much. It's one of my saved scriptures on the New Version app. And today I want to talk a little bit about how I became a conservative and what that means to me, especially from someone who grew up in the foster care system. I wanted to explain to you guys how I became a conservative. So in case you are new to my channel and you don't obviously know a little bit about my history, I am from the state of Maryland. I went into the foster care system at age 11 after spending about a year in kinship care. And that means I was living with a close relative. I went into the foster care system, and then I was placed in about 3 foster homes from ages 11 through 16. And then months later, after turning 16, I was placed back into kinship care with the same maternal aunt. I've shared my foster care journey in previous episodes, and you can find them in the show's description afterwards if you want to learn more about my history. So yes, that is a little bit about me. When I was in the system, I was exposed to a lot of progressive values. So sometimes I'm just stunned because of how I turned out, because of the person I used to be is no longer recognized. It was the summer of 2020, and Candace Owens, the infamous Candace Owens, released the George Floyd video that forever rocked my worldview. Prior to being conservative, I used to be a staunch progressive, and I used to consider myself as a feminist as well. I don't really associate with feminism anymore, but I love that I was a feminist and that I was an advocate for women's rights, and I still am an advocate for women's rights. It just looks differently now because I am a conservative. So back in 2020, I was still considered a ward in the state of Maryland because I was still in the foster care system. I didn't age out until 21 because in the state of Maryland, you can stay in the foster care system until age 21. And I didn't really have a lot of support systems at the time outside of foster care. So it was, the court just found it best best for me to just stay in the foster care system until age 21. After that Candace Owens video was released, I was looking up other conservative influences, and that's how I got exposed to PragerU, Charlie Kirk, I know, Charlie Kirk, and other conservatives in the mainstream media. And I was diving into a lot of issues from Black Lives Matter to education, and I wanted to see what conservatives think about various issues. Then I kind of just broke the mold when it came to my politics. I used to identify as a libertarian because I was still searching what conservatism looks like. And I used to be on my channel on Instagram. I used to do videos on different topics and post videos about different topics. And one thing I would do was I would identify as a libertarian with some conservative values. But now I consider myself as a Christian, more like a Christian conservative. And I used to identify as a Republican, but I now consider myself more of a independent when it comes to political parties, because as much as I value the Republicans party, there are so many issues that I stand on that are so far right from the Republican Party that it just doesn't make sense to just align myself with that party. I do appreciate a lot of people in that party. I know that I'm an outlier when it comes to that group. It's so crazy to me that I am where I am today, because I used to admire people like AOC and Michelle Obama. When I was a little girl, I used to admire Michelle Obama so much, particularly because she was the first Black first lady that we have ever had. And I just was in love with her charisma and her elegance. I used to want to be like her when I grew up because of that association with being a Black little girl and a Black woman. And I kind of still do at this point, but I will be like the Republican version of Michelle Obama. Minus the first lady part, because I'm not really sure if I have what it takes to be a first lady, or if my future husband has what it takes to be president of the United States. But we'll see. So, as a former foster girl, I like to create awareness on issues that are stemming in the foster care community. There is this nonprofit organization known as the National Foster Youth Institute, or better, shorter, NFYI, and they help bring a lot of awareness that are still stemming in the system, especially for young adults who age out of the system. Back in 2022, I did a Shadow Day conference with NFYI, and I did an episode on this, highlighting this part of my life, this episode was called Walking Up on Capitol Hill. I will share a few past episodes that I did on this podcast, including my foster life story, because I think it is really interesting. Anyways, NFYI do a lot of, advocacy, especially for those who are in the foster care system, and I greatly appreciate their efforts. During my time in DC with NFII, it was very easy to point out that they are very greatly progressive, and a lot of their shadow representatives who we were able to shadow under are Democrats. So at the time, former Congresswoman and now the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, used to be the head representative for NFYI, and she used to be, and you could tell that she used to care so much about foster kids. And I really respected her for that, even though we may disagree a lot when it comes to different issues. I really respected that she came out and supported us in a way that most representatives do not. I would love if more Republican leaders were involved in social issues like the foster care system. I know that it seems so redundant, but I really do believe that Republicans can really make a great impact when it comes to issues that we see in the system and how we can better help young adults who age out of the system. I see even recently how the Trump administration is putting out putting pressure on Congress to pass legislation to cut Medicaid costs and other social programs that vulnerable people every day rely on, and that is something that I can definitely bring light to in another episode. However, when it comes to social issues, Republicans are definitely on the losing side of it. And so when it came to my time with NFII, I love that they allow us young people to shadow Congress people during that time in DC, and every year they do Shadow Day conference events in DC to help us young people to get comfortable, to get the confidence to work with great leaders across the aisle. But yeah, it doesn't change the fact that as a organization, they can be very greatly progressive, which nothing is wrong with progressivism, because our country wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for progressivism. And as a conservative, I can acknowledge that. I have had relationships cut off because of my beliefs, because I call myself a conservative. I wanted to make this episode because I wanted to explain that even though I've changed my political views over the years, that still doesn't change the person that I am. I know I am not the same woman that I was when I was aging out of the system, and I'm certainly am not the same woman that I was about 2 years ago, because so much has changed in my life. And I think for better or worse, I am greatly adapting to it. I am greatly looking forward towards the future and towards things that will help me feel accomplished. So I wanted to make this video because even though I am who I am, I know a lot of people are not going to like about the things that I'm going to share online. And that's okay, because I'm here to be able to create dialogue, and that's all I want to do at the end of the day, is just inspire people to have conversations about things that do matter, and that is foster kids. There are a lot of people in the foster care community who are heavily invested in the progressive movement because they believe, partially because Democrats are the only one that cares about the social issues. And I think there are some Republicans who do care about social issues, but as I said before, Republicans are on the losing side of it. So what do I want to come out of this video? Well, first, I want you as a listener to see what issues that you're seeing nearby where you are, and see how when it comes to the foster care system, I want you to see how the foster care system is operating in your local county, city, or state. Because I think the more people who are aware of the issues that are in the system, the better it will be for a lot of foster kids. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, please consider following or subscribing if you're watching this on YouTube. And like this video, this episode. And if you are a returning guest to my podcast, thank you so much for your continuous support. If you would like to follow me or gain insight into my life, you can follow me on social media. All my links will be shared in the show's description. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next time. Have a lovely day.